Hello, everybody. Welcome to Joe the Lawyer. I am your host, and today we are going to ask the question: why do women find killers so attractive? Why are women attracted to killers, serial killers, etc.? And there is a specific movie that's coming out, a documentary that asked this question and which caught my attention. So just give me a second here while I get this pulled up. All right, here we go. So this is the trailer for Handsome Devil. And Handsome Devil, Charming Killer. And this gentleman is referred to as the Deadpool killer, Wade Wilson. He was accused and convicted of murder a couple of years ago. And let me just get this in theater mode so that you can see. And we're going to watch this trailer. But before we do so, please raise your cup, your glass in the air. Cheers with me. It tastes better when we sip together. Tonight, I'm having lemonade, sugar, but no caffeine. Cheers. Also, if you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Free ways to support the channel. I'm trying to grow this channel, doing a variety of different videos to attract attention. But please like, comment, and share. Thank you very much. Likes and comments greatly appreciated. Let's watch this little clip.
A lot of ladies think he's attractive.
Very nice, very well spoken.
This is what I do with women, you know? I use my charm, use my good looks.
I fell very much in love with Wade.
He's the ultimate bad boy.
I almost thought I could fix him.
I guess you know what comes across my mind. Murder. Just murder.
I stand here today to announce the indictment of Wade Wilson for the murders of Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz.
I choked her out so she couldn't breathe anymore. I was on a rampage at this point.
I'm gonna be honest with you, son. Everybody in the state thinks you're a monster.
While locked up, this is when Wade began getting his face tattooed.
This case exploded on social media.
Wade Wilson,
The Deadpool killer.
this went worldwide.
And you know, there's it's funny is his dad's like, oh, everybody thinks you're a monster. Maybe a lot of the general public, but a lot of people don't, and a lot of women don't.
Women were absolutely enthralled with him.
He was building a cult following.
Hey, Chris. Hello. Hey, Bruce. What's up, babe? I love you so much.
There's fans who have never met this man showing up for this trial.
I can't wait to get out. We're gonna have sex for hours.
To advocate for someone because you think he's handsome.
Even though he committed brutal and awful murders.
I started getting death threats because I had testified against him.
I was gonna get married to Wade before the trial.
I'm Zane Romero. I'm Diane Ruiz's youngest child.
The moment that I realized that I was done was during Zane's testimony.
I almost killed myself because I couldn't bear the idea of turning 15 without my mom.
He's still pulling the strings from a jail cell. He's got an army of wives. That's all he's ever wanted.
There's nobody behind those dark serial killer eyes.
A rage overcomes me. Just kill. 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 When I get that way, I become the devil. I'm like a lion. You're the prey. I can sense it.
So here's the what I think the reality of this is that social media has really changed everything when it comes to somebody like this guy, like the Deadpool killer. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, 20, 30, 40 years ago, all right, you wouldn't, people, like, maybe this story would be printed in the newspaper, okay? And maybe it would get a little bit of time on, like, your nightly news or the national news. But that was it. Nowadays, though, trials are put on TV, but more importantly than that, social media. So people can take clips, people can take images and put them on social media and put commentary with them. And somebody like this guy can, as they stated in the clip there, go viral, as they stated in the trailer. And this guy was a couple of years ago, and until I saw this, like, I had heard a little bit about him when the trial was going on, but not a lot. And now they made this documentary, but what do we have going on right now? We got the Luigi Mangione trial, right? Like, women are doing the same thing over and over again. And especially as a man, you'd be like, what the heck is going on here? Like, why are women into these guys? Like, these guys are killers, murderers. I think one element is the attractiveness. So there's certainly that to take into account. But beyond the attractiveness, like, why, especially if you know that somebody is a killer, never did a show on Joe. Yeah, no, I haven't killed anybody yet, Zephiel. But why are you still? And maybe part of it is just this fantasy, right? Like, because he's in jail, well, you can never actually be with him. But beyond Luigi Mangione, beyond Wade Wilson, okay, I've encountered a lot of people a lot of murderers doing life sentences, and they get married all the time in jail. Like, they get married in prison all the time to women on the outside. I mean, it's actually a very common thing. And so, what the heck is going on here? Bro, he was an attractive guy. I wouldn't want to get murdered by him, though. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these women are like into him, but it's not real, right? Because the person's in jail, so they don't have to worry about it. My mom has been in a murder and mystery stuff for as long as I can remember, obsessed with Jeffrey Dahmer. Yeah, look, and I'm not saying that, man, like, I find this stuff interesting too. Like, there, of course, men and women can find this type of thing, murder mystery, but I think there's something when you get a killer and then the killer is also like an attractive man. That combination of being a murderer and being attractive is gonna get you a ton of women. And the question is why? And until I'd never, I think I'd maybe read or heard a little bit about this type of thing before, but until I saw this trailer and then I looked it up. And we have here this hybristophilia. Hybristophilia is the phenomenon characterized by sexual interest in and attraction to those who commit crimes. The term hybristophilia was coined by John Money in 1986, derived from the Greek word hubrazein, meaning to commit an outrage against someone, and philo, meaning have a strong affinity. In popular culture, this phenomenon is also known as the Bonnie and Clyde syndrome. Causes, manifestations of hybristophilia include the romanticization of criminals, especially serial killers. Many high-profile criminals, particularly those who have committed atrocious crimes, receive fan mail in prison that is sometimes amorous or sexual, presumably because of this phenomenon. Women who write pen pal letters or even pursue men who are incarcerated for a crime are sometimes referred to as a prison groupie or serial killer groupie. I never heard those before, but I've seen it. Being criminal defense lawyer, I've seen it. Like, I've interacted with potential clients and other individuals who find women on the outside and marry them. Although rare, hybristophilia has also been reported in men. So, in some cases, admirers of these criminals have gone on to marry the object of their affections in prison. I'm telling you, it's pretty common. So now, I don't know about like these real high-profile ones, but average guys who commit murder can end up finding girls they can marry on the outside. Social media contributions for an easier contributions for an easier method of showcasing attraction to the criminal hybristophilia have also been discussed. A 2023 paper stated, if social media platforms, including TikTok, provide users with the ability to freely express themselves publicly and anonymously, then individuals wanting to showcase and share their affection and admiration for criminal offenders might opt to utilize these platforms for this purpose. Well, that was a long way of saying something that's pretty obvious, is that people can talk about and share the feelings for this on social media. Causes. So this is interesting. Some speculation's been offered as to the causes. Mentions that some of the women who have married or dated serial killers have offered the following reasons. Some believe they can change a man as cruel and powerful as a serial killer. Well, I mean, women try to change men that aren't serial killers too, but maybe that's an extra challenge? Others see the little boy that the killer once was and seek to nurture him. A few hope to share in the media spotlight or get a book or movie deal. That's the minority, I'm sure. Then there's the notion of the perfect boyfriend. Oh my God, this is hilarious. She knows where he is at all times, and she knows he's thinking about her. Guys on dating sites have it harder. They do. They do. That's hilarious. The captured boyfriend is, I love that. While she can claim that someone loves her, she does not have to endure the day-to-day issues involved in most relationships. Yeah, well, you also don't get a lot of the positives that come with actually being able to see and touch the person. There's no laundry to do, no cooking for him, and no accountability to him. She can keep the fantasy charged up for a long time. So yeah, there's certainly this fantasy aspect of it, where if a woman maybe doesn't have any other better options in her life at the time, and she starts this pen pal relationship, I'm sure it probably fills that void until they can find, a person who's not going to be in jail the rest of their lives. Now, it's more interesting when you're dealing with the serial killer or the murderer, right? Like, just somebody who's in jail for 3 or 6 years, it's like, well, he'll get out at some point. So there can be more of a genuine, realistic interest there. Some mental health experts have compared infatuation with killers to extreme forms of fanaticism. They view such women as insecure females who cannot find love in normal ways. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably true. And love-avoidant females who seek romantic relationships that cannot be consummated. Though she notes that there are also several examples of hybristophiliacs who are beautiful, educated, and married. I mean, most of them, like I see the women outside holding signs up for Luigi. Most of them seem perfectly fine. Psychologist Leon F. Seltzer, I mean, the woman in the handsome, she's not, she's not a bad looking woman. I mean, I can't imagine, I'll have to watch this, but I can't imagine she would have a hard time finding a man on the outside. And, she seems to say that at a certain point she decided she wasn't into him anymore, at least from the trailer. But, I can't imagine that this woman would have a problem, finding men on the outside. Like, there's just no way. Sorry, I just want to leave a good picture up here. I will put this one up. So let's continue to read. Psychologist Leon Seltzer proposes a condition could be related to the riskiness involved with dating a criminal. Now I think we're getting somewhere. This, I think, is more real. This is more underlying. The desire to tame or fix them in primitive instincts based on evolutionary psychology. In the latter theory, he mentions dominance is attractive as it would mean such men could protect women and their offspring according to evolutionary history. Seltzer says women today may consciously realize that it is unwise to date a serial killer, but they are nevertheless attracted to them. He stated, as a therapist, I've encountered many women who bemoan their vulnerability toward dominant men who consciously they recognize we're all wrong for them. That happens all the time on the outside, like the bad boy. This is the bad boy. As evidence of women's fantasy preference for dominant men, he refers to the book A Billion Wicked Thoughts, what the world's largest experiment reveals about human desire by Ogi Ogus and Sai Gadam. Sounds like an interesting book. Seltzer discusses Ogus and Gadam's argument that this fantasy is the dominant plot of most erotic romantic books and movies written for women, but the fantasy always holds that this male is that okay. I didn't know if that was a pornographic image that was gonna like get me demonetized. Who knows? This might get demonetized anyway. But the fantasy always holds that this male dominance is conditional. It doesn't really represent the man's innermost reality. He says in reality, very, very few women are actually swayed by these primitive instincts. Movies conditioned by the fantasy. Well, I don't know about that. The ultimate bad boy. You got it. You got it, Zephiel. That's what I kind of think is going on here. Elizabeth Gurian wrote that ebristophilia may be a result of an individual being the victim of abuse or having a seeking behavior. True. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. A linkage was also made to the case of it being for the purpose of controlling fear, in which people consciously or unconsciously deny the threat in accordance with the extended parallel process model. Well, I would have to read that. I'm not going to read that right now. Jeffrey Dahmer, a serial killer. I mean, is Jeffrey Dahmer? I mean, he doesn't appear to be a bad-looking guy. I mean, he was so like Jeffrey Dahmer is just sickening because he ate. I mean, that was just gross. But is said to have had amorous women sending him letters, money, and other gifts during his time in prison, despite being a gay man and a cannibal. One of the most infamous. So, if you're the ultimate bad boy, it doesn't necessarily matter to women that you're gay and a cannibal. It's wild. One of the most infamous examples of ebristophilia is the large number of women attracted to Ted Bundy after his arrest. He often drew scores of women at the jammed courtrooms of his trials each day. See, even back in the 70s when social media, this isn't just a it's not just a social media phenomenon, although I think social media has brought it more to the public, and I think there's probably a bit more of it now because of social media, but it was happening in the 70s. Bundy allegedly received hundreds of love letters from women while he was incarcerated and married a woman, Carol Ann Boone, whom he had met while both were working in the state of Washington. He proposed to her in the middle of proceedings while Boone was on the witness stand. Boone gave birth to a daughter whom it was believed Bundy had fathered. So I don't know if they had conjugal visits or if that was done before. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker who killed 13 people and had more than a passing interest in Satanism, had fans who would write him letters and pay him visits. This included Doreen Leoy, who married him in California's San Quentin State Prison on October 3rd, 1996. However, Leoy eventually broke ties with Ramirez in 2009 after DNA confirmed he had raped and murdered 9-year-old Mei Lung, though it seems she never legally filed for divorce. Cult leader orchestrator Charles Manson's groupies are also examples. Yeah, good examples. Lyle and Eric Menendez, American brothers convicted in 1989 murders of their parents in Beverly Hills, received significant attention from members of the public during and after their high-profile trials, including romantic correspondence and relationships initiated while they were incarcerated. Both brothers married women who first wrote to them after encountering the case through television. Lyle's first wife, Anna Erickson, initially wrote to him during his trial before they married by telephone from prison, and he subsequently married Rebecca Sneed after a long history of correspondence. Eric married Tammy Sackerman, who began writing to him during his trial before they met in person and went in prison. The case also experienced renewed public interest on social media in the 2020s, particularly on the video sharing platform TikTok, where users, often young female adults, created and shared content highlighting the brothers' physical attractiveness. And of course, the which I have not watched, but I want to, the Netflix series. Columbiners are self-acknowledged members of a fandom that expressed desire for Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. I mean, come on, these guys, they're school shooters, perpetrators of the Columbine High School massacre. So, I had an uncle who, by marriage, who, when I was a small kid, murdered my aunt, 3 of my cousins. He was a sick bastard, national story, and he wound up getting executed. Wow, that's wild. That's wild, Tech 52. Did a woman marry him while he was in prison? It's just, it's kind of wild. And, I think I think that evolutionary, like all of these, I think have some credence. I think that evolutionary theory, and like Zephiel said, is probably the explains it the most, because those other things involve like some sort of logic and reasoning, rationality to some degree, but it's that there's this, this deep under, like, women are, right, you go back into hundreds and thousands of years ago, when humans lived in small groups that were hunter-gatherers. Of course, the men that you needed were the ones who were good at the hunting, good and good defenders of the group, right? The men are going to have to engage in combat to protect the group. And so women are wired, in really in certain ways, almost all animals, right, are like wired to look for the the strongest males, and the males who can kill other males, right? The males who can fight off other males and other groups. And for the thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years where humans lived in small groups as hunter-gatherers, this was very, very important, right? And women, so women were attracted to these men, and you see it in other mammals. You see these things in other mammals too, right? You see lions, like, the strongest male lion has a bunch of the female lions and the babies, and basically all the male does is fight off the other males, and the females do all the hunting, and then the male comes and takes what he wants and knocks the other males out until he's knocked off of his mountain, right? So females are evolutionarily wired to have this attractiveness bug. I don't know if you call it a bug, but this attractiveness trait towards, the strongest, fiercest, most powerful, or the word they used there was dominant males. And in today's society, we live in quote unquote civilized times, and it's really a lot different, but you still see women are very much attracted to men that are in the military or like police officers, and that's an aspect of this evolutionary psychology. And then, of course, women are attracted to the bad boy, but typically the bad boy has those traits, right? Like, there's other things too. It's like the bad boy probably is willing to stand up to authority, is willing to go outside of the lines of regular society or regular rules, and that is something that shows that they don't have, right, they're fearless, brave, courageous, extremely independent, and women are attracted to that, right? But the more common manifestation is the guy who rides a motorcycle and I don't know, is in a band or something and likes to get high, or there's all kinds of these manifestations of the bad boy that is not, maybe a UFC fighter, right? That is not really unhealthy. But what you have here with these killers is, as Zephiel says, just this, it's this second level, it's a level above that, right? You have this level of like bad boys who can still operate within regular society, and women are very much attracted to them. And then you get this other expression of being a bad boy, right? It's like being a murderer. And then if you couple it with, an attractive face, then you got this cocktail that is gonna get you women. Women are gonna be attracted to, even if you're in jail the rest of your life, even if you're in prison the rest of your life. And so Wade Wilson and Luigi Mangione. I'm looking here at Ted Bundy. I don't know. He's not bad looking. I don't know if he's like good looking like those other guys. Is Jeffrey Dahmer good looking? I don't know. He's not bad looking. But you get that combination of like an attractive man plus they killed somebody, and it just goes through the roof. throws social media in there, and it's all over. I'm a big fan of the uniform and the bad boy. However, I end up with nerds. I mean, yeah, I mean, look. I think it's, it's probably it's just like ingrained in female psychology, and it's just like males have certain archetypes or whatnot that they're going to be attractive to, and it's probably stronger in some women than it is in others. I think all women have a bit of that probably in them, but their frontal lobe can kind of fight back on that, some cannot. But it's just funny because, this video, it's like, the one, we saw that one woman who's like, well, it's just like he did these things that he did. Like, let's see what she said again.
Though he committed brutal and awful murders.
I started getting death threats because I had testified against him.
Oh, wrong woman there. Sorry.
I was gonna get married to Wade before
this
the
is
trial.
the guy,
I'm
the woman.
Romero. I'm Diane Ruiz's youngest child.
The moment that I realized that I was done.
But, I think when I first sort of thought about this, I was like, it just doesn't make any sense. But then when you read about, kind of the research that's been done on it in the papers that have been written, it's like, it kind of does make sense. Like, now we can understand the phenomenon. I still find it entertaining, but it is a phenomenon, and it's a real phenomenon. There's evolutionary psychology, psychological reasons for it. Luigi Mangione is a bit of a different case. It's the same in that, he's probably he has an attractive male face, and he killed somebody. There's this extra aspect of he's, some sort of social justice warrior or something, because he did it over healthcare. I don't even think that plays that big a role, but I think that is part of why he's got fandom as well. So every case can have a bit of different sort of elements that make it more interesting. Wade Wilson with these tattoos. I know a lot of people are into that as well. So it's just a funny thing, and I had no idea. I had seen I'd clicked on one or two videos about it on YouTube. I had no idea it had a clinical name, right? Like hybristophilia. But there it is, right up there with infantophilia, globophilia. There's a lot of philias in there. Too funny. Looking back at some of these, this guy, the Night Stalker, man, he was he was brutal, just a brutal rapist murderer. I watched the Netflix documentary on that. I never got too into Ted Bundy and Charles Manson. Those ones were just publicized so much. But the Columbiners, come on. If you come on, they kill kids like that. It's actually, that's kind of interesting because this woman said what set her off was when she learned about the impact that it had on a child. And maybe that's a line that finally gets crossed. It's a man who just killed other men or something is no big deal, right? But then when you get into the women and children, it's oh my God, just terrible. So yeah, hybristophilia, and we got some major cases of it going on right now with Luigi Mangione and then Wade Wilson, who was already convicted, I believe, sentenced to life. But it'll still be interesting to watch this one and just see the behind the scenes. It also explains, right? I'm sure you guys saw this. the woman who was like the assistant warden at that jail in Alabama, and she broke out that murderer, and they were driving and everything, and then she ended up like killing herself. And then there was that movie about the two murderers in New York State Prison, and same thing. A female prison worker broke them out, and the police ended up capturing everybody and killing, I think, one of the inmates. So you get these females too, right? This is the same thing. You get these females in jails and prison who end up helping out these male prisoners, these male inmates. And, you got to ask yourself, like, I'm just saying, like, I think women are capable of the job, but look at the situation it can create, with women in there and males. Like, maybe you got a prison, it's like, maybe, like, you have the women take care of the women prisoners and the men take care of the men. I don't know. And then, of course, if you guys watched, what was that show on, what was the show about the women's prison? It was on Netflix, Orange is the New Black. In that show, you also got male, like, and I'm not like saying men are a big problem too, because men who have, are prison guards for females will, and it can go both ways. Like, the men can manipulate the males or the women, and the women can manipulate the men in that situation. So it's all very, very interesting. How these sort of relationship, male-female relationships work out when you have criminals involved. We've even had in my local jail, Allegheny County Jail, we've had instances where women were helping men inside, get drugs and communicate with the outside, things like that. I don't know. There probably has been, sexual relationships as well. I didn't hear about them or know too much about them. I was just hearing about some woman CO who quit her job to marry an inmate, right? I think it's actually like not, again, it's just not that uncommon. Like, I'm not saying it happening constantly, but it's happening on a regular basis across the country. Clinton Correctional, the one that died was in my aunt's house. They killed him a quarter mile. Are you serious? That is wild. I started that movie with the Clinton Correctional, and was it Patricia Arquette who was Patricia Arquette played in that movie, and I can't remember who else, but I started it. I didn't finish it. It's a very long movie. I got about an hour into it. I think I still had another hour and a half. But yeah, it's a phenomenon. I mean, the one about the woman who broke the guy out of the Louisiana jail, it was pretty interesting. The guy was a convicted murderer, and he was only at the local jail because he would have been in the state penitentiary. He was only at the local jail because he was awaiting like some court date for some other case that hadn't been resolved. He's already serving a life sentence. And so those are the inmates you really got to worry about, right? Because they have nothing to lose if they're already on a life sentence. So he's in there, and he started like slipping her comments and slipping her compliments, and then all of a sudden, like, she's letting him out, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it was specific, if they ever fully discovered this, but pretty sure he was they were hooking up at the jail. And then finally she walks in one day and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm taking so-and-so to court." And she was second in charge of the jail. So nobody's going to question her. She just lets him out, takes him out, gets him in his car, and they head off. All these people get tracked down, though, too. They all get tracked down. But she was like, that woman was, she was like a little bit older and hadn't really, I don't know if I think she was maybe divorced and was single and in her 50s. And, really didn't have that much of a social life. So for her, it was I guess it was exciting. Why do these people never prepare? They should have plans to get out of the county or some country or something. I know it's like they only prepare so far, or they grossly underestimate how easy it's going to be, and they always get caught. It's like you need a really, really good plan, but if your plan was good enough, you could probably get away. Yeah, they always get caught. Their car always gets identified, or some camera picks them up. It's a lot harder. It's a lot harder in 2025. Yeah, I remember the one guy Brooke was close to getting away, and he survived, and they recaptured him, I believe. Excuse me, and he's still in prison today. What is that on my shirt? So he's still in prison. I think he's still in prison today. But yeah, it's just this phenomenon. It's like if you're a bad boy, and like the more bad things you do, like the more women you can get. So it's just kind of like a quirk in human psychology, right? That is a result of our evolutionary history. So yeah, I just wanted to address this with you guys. You know, it's a Sunday night, and we didn't have any news over the weekend, so nothing really to talk about as far as Mangione's case or the other cases I'm covering. I'll go back to some more normal coverage in the week. Is there anything anybody wanted to talk about? Now's your opportunity. Joe Palmetto, Joe the lawyer, a practicing criminal defense attorney in Pittsburgh, PA. Been doing this for going on 13 years now. If you had any questions or anything you want to chat about, I'm happy to do that for the last few minutes, or else I can just keep riffing about this topic. Solitary for life. That's got to be rough, because even, I have a lot of clients that might enjoy a few days in solitary, but beyond that, nobody likes it. Nobody likes it. Solitary is rough, man. It is rough on the human mind, and it's rough on the human brain, and just on people generally, physically, mentally, emotionally. It's tough. Not a good place to be. You might like you might like it for a short time, but I'm telling you, most people that are in, they do not enjoy it long term. And so solitary is not a cool place to be. Allegheny County is Allegheny County Jail. There used to be a state prison in Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh SCI. But it closed several years ago. It was only around, I think it was around for like a couple of years when I first started practicing. Then they closed it, and then they opened it back up for a very short period of time. Might have been around COVID. I can't remember. Just because they needed an extra place to store people, to house inmates, but now it's permanently closed, and they were looking to develop it because it's actually, Pittsburgh SCI is actually really expensive, sort of real estate. It's by the downtown area, and so that real estate's worth a lot now. I remember reading a couple years ago there was a lot of contracts, there were bids to buy it, but I don't think it's been bought. I'd have to Google. I haven't looked it up in a while. But yeah, Allegheny County is the county. Pittsburgh is the county seat inside of Allegheny County, and you have the Allegheny County Jail, which is downtown. Allegheny County Jail was built in the early 90s. State of the art at the time, was considered a really, really secure jail. And even to this day, I don't know that anybody has ever broken out of it. It sits along the river, so it's really tough. And where it is, it just, you don't really have anywhere to go, even if you get out. But yeah, it's a newer jail, 30 years old. And it's pretty big, multiple floors, And, I've done I did a couple of tours of that jail when I first started, and they took me into the control room, and I could see the guards with all the cameras and everything. And I've actually I've been into a lot of rooms in that jail. I've been inside the pods. Nowadays I just go into the attorney room, meet most of my clients in there. Some clients that are in like protective custody, it's kind of funny. They put me in the gym in the basketball court, and I sit at a table and I'll dribble basketball and shoot hoops while I'm waiting for my client to come out. So yeah, Allegheny is a county. It's a county jail. Client was in one of them. He's really mentally ill from whatever happened to him there. Yeah, Allegheny. I mean, there is frequently a lot of fights. It's a fairly secure jail, so I don't think there's too much nonsense, but it's big, so nonsense certainly occurs. And when I say that, I mean drugs and beatings and things like that. There was a jail called Fayette County Jail. You can Google a story on it. It was like 75 years old. They just closed it a few years ago. They built a new jail in Fayette County. Fayette County is a county. It's a more rural county south of Pittsburgh. And I heard all kinds of stories out of that jail. I mean, that jail looked like a jail. It looked like a jail you seen from like literally like the 1800s, okay, with the bars and everything. And prisoners would be like inmates would be cooped up and like, they put 2 or 3 inmates in a cell, be sleeping on the floor on mattresses. It's like total S show. I actually think I'd be fine with solitary compared to dealing with folks in the general. Hey, maybe you would be, Zeph. I'm just I would say it's rough on most people. He might have been shanked. Yeah, I mean that happens in the Allegheny County Jail. I've had clients that's happened to. I've had clients pull that sort of thing. It's not super common, but it does happen. I had a client who had stolen a pair of scissors, and I guess she was planning to use it, and then she was put in solitary over that. They don't call it solitary; it's called restricted housing unit, RHU, and so. Part of it is he was in solitary for a long time. Yeah, I mean, it has a lot. I mean, it's pretty detrimental to people's mental health overall. And the Allegheny County Jail sucks. It's like the food, excuse my French, the food is terrible. The conditions, you'd much rather be in a state correctional institute or a federal institution. The food's better, the yard time. The things like that are a lot better in a state correctional institute than in a local county jail. All right. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Going for about 42 minutes Sunday night, bit tired. Again, thank you. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Looking to grow this channel. I got over 6,000 subscribers now, and some of my videos are doing pretty well. I'm going to mix in some of the other stuff I used to do on this channel, like legal tips and things like that. I want to mix that in, but I am, for the most part, going to be following what some of you guys have seen already, my docket, which really isn't ready yet. I've just been so engrossed in other legal, just doing so many, my caseload. My caseload's just been crazy. But I really want to, where the heck is my docket? But I do want to start just doing regular updates on those cases, cases that people find interesting, cases that they don't. What the heck? Date last open. Here we go. My docket overview. So more of the content in the future will focus on the docket overview, but probably on the weekends I'm going to mix it up. And on days when there's just not too much news. But any recommendations or anything, if people want me to follow us, this Streamlabs is just like sometimes really good, and then sometimes it just doesn't do what I want it to do. Like I'm trying to grab a different screen and it's just not showing up. My PowerPoint slide is not showing up. Let me see if I can. No. I will find it here in a second. But yeah, just my docket overview. There we go. Oh, comes out way too big. And a lot of the content is going to follow this, where we can just, get different updates. I just need to get better at technology, I don't know if that's big enough for people to really see. I need to get better at technology. And here, we're going to cover these different cases. Okay, that's a little bit better. Now you guys can't see me. We have the people of the state of California. One thing about the hybristophilia, I haven't seen too much of it for Nick Reiner, but I'll keep my eyes open. And then we're going to cover USA versus Luigi Mangione. That's still correct. His trial date is, I believe, 10/13. They have like a backup date. Nick's next court date, 2/23/2026. People's State of California versus Nick Reiner. Luigi Mangione, 10/13/26. State of New Mexico versus Timothy Busfield. Nobody really seems to be interested in that one, although he did get out on bond. State of Utah versus Tyler Robinson. The State of Nevada versus the man who assassinated Charlie Kirk. State of Nevada versus Dwayne Keefe D. Oh, there's one of my predictions. No, go the other way. You see, I can't even. Oh, here we go. All right. See, I learned something every day. State of Nevada versus Dwayne Keefe D. Davis. Pending discovery. Trial date October 10th. He supposedly killed Tupac. If you watch the Diddy documentary, see, I watched the P. Diddy documentary 50 Cent put out. And then I went in down this rabbit hole about Keefe D, who supposedly killed Tupac. He actually wasn't the trigger man. They say he was the point man. But it's a fascinating case because no accounts actually have him as the murderer. Maybe he's an accomplice. Okay, so that should be interesting. And then I was looking in state of Texas versus Brad Chandler Simpson, who supposedly killed his wife along with another individual. These were 6 of the cases I thought were really interesting. How much longer before Pirates lose skis? Lemon might be hard because it's federal. The Don Lemon case, I don't think I'm going to get into that one. Just, I can't say it's too political because State of Utah versus Tyler Robinson, but it is a political case, but it's just not interesting to me from a defense perspective. Although, to bring that up, I guess, Don Lemon does have a defense. I'd have to read that statute, but his defense would be, I was just there as a journalist, right? I wasn't a protester. And I think the case may come down to that, is whether or not he's the jury or the judge, before it gets to a jury, views him as a legitimate journalist, or was he a protester? So did he participate in the planning? Did he participate in the protest? Like, was the protest going to happen regardless? I think those would be the factors to be looked at in that case. I guess I could put Don Lemon in. I was trying to focus, not really murderers. I don't know. I'm trying to find a flavor for the channel. So I don't know. Maybe I will do Don Lemon. Yeah, I know. He was supposedly offered money by Diddy, but he says he never got the money, bro. He was never actually paid. And the Diddy kill Biggie too. I mean, that theory, Diddy either was, he might have been in on that, but at the very least, he was very careless. He was careless when he ended up in when Biggie was in California. The more I looked at that, I don't think I don't know that Diddy killed him or set that up in California, but I think he just appeared to be very careless about it. Like, he should have been more conscious of the danger that Biggie was facing in California. It's also malicious. He has a lot of money too. Yeah, I think that the Keefe D case, like, I think his defense lawyers could win that. That's what intrigues me about, to what extent did Lemon participate. Yeah, I heard, I heard one, I think I was on the radio, or something, where Lemon was like, he was interviewing, like, he was there before the protest started. And he was like interviewing the protesters, and they were like, what are you guys going to do? Like, you're just going to run in? Like, yeah, we're going to wait for the doors. And Don Lemon's like, is that one of our guys? And they're like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. So he was certainly there before. But, like, again, did he plan it? Or was it like he heard there was going to be a protest, and then he showed up and he was interviewing, and then they went inside and then he went in with them? I think that would be his best defense. But I still don't know, if that's a defense, right? It's like, think about January 6th, right? Like, if somebody just followed the January 6ers in with a microphone and interviewed them while they were doing it, does that mean the person's innocent? Because there were a lot of people in there taking photos and videos, etc. Now you got Don Lemon. He's like going in there with them. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Biggie was leaving death row. Yeah, I mean, Brooke, did you see the interview? You should watch the interview on Patrick Bet David with Bad Boy's bodyguard, who was with Big and Diddy and Little C's when they were in California. Like, watch that interview with the bodyguard. I can't remember his name. Wild, and then everything that happened lead up to Big's death. All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. This time I'm leaving for real. Thank you, everybody. All my friends and regulars, Brooks FIL at Tech. I appreciate it very much. Maybe I will add Don Lemon to this list. All right, guys, bye-bye.